Thank you. Okay, good evening, everyone. We are ready to receive questions if you have any, and after which we will do a review or answer questions based upon some of the things we spoke of.
Okay. I got two. One of them was about yesterday, and then this one, the first one I asked, what is the difference between the church and the end of the church age? Or is it the same?
Okay. First of all, when we speak concerning the church, we're talking about that group of people who have been identified by different religious groups that involve primarily Christians. Because if you note it, you will see that Muslims call their buildings a mosque, Jews call theirs a synagogue or temple, and Christians call theirs a church. Now, the dilemma involved there is when the Muslim calls their building a mosque, they don't call themselves a mosque. When Christians call the building the church, they also call themselves the church, only when it's convenient to do so. That building becomes the church when they want you there, when they want you to support it financially, when they want you to clean it, to maintain it, to finance it. You are the church when it is convenient, meaning that you are the church when it comes to maintaining the moral standards, and I put that in air quotes, of the church. Whatever the church wants you to do in order for you to adhere to what it calls its principles, then you become the church. That has been more evident during the last year than ever before, because the cry has been come to church, as opposed to the cry being let's gather to worship. So if the cry is to come to church, then that is referencing the building, which means that one of the most confusing religions is that of Christianity. So when I speak of the church age, I speak of a period of the religious, a period of religion where Christians are gathering themselves in a building called the church, an age where finances are more important than people, an age where it is more important to buy a new van than it is to help someone pay a mortgage, an age where the church, especially that the church of the Caucasian, is more of a political or bastion than anything else. It is a place where one political rule rules everything, and that rule is keep everything white and powerful. That's the Caucasian church. When it comes to the white charismatic church, even though it says it is quote-unquote integrated, its principles are the same. It does not say it as blatantly as does the evangelical churches and some of the others associated with it. However, it says it in its actions and in the people it supports. Not one group has come out and stood powerfully, strongly against what happened on January 6th, knowing how racist it was, and none has spoken against Donald Trump, knowing that he is the leader of white supremacists in this nation, if not on this earth. So the end of the church age is an end to all of these religious organizations that uses scripture to justify their existence. And when I say an end to them, I'm talking about the power that they have wielded in the past is no longer so. They will be visible, but they will be like toothless tigers. They will have absolutely no power. As a matter of fact, they don't have any now. As the white supremacists are exposed and loses their power, so does the white church. And as the pandemic exposes the true nature of the shepherd, or supposedly shepherd anyway, of the African church, we are beginning to see a demise in its membership as well as in those truly concerned about its existence, because it only exists for the purpose of existing and not for the purpose of uplifting humanity. Any questions about that? And does that answer your question, Kathy?
Yeah, so would that be same too as Kingdom Age?
No. There has never been an end or a beginning to the Kingdom Age. The kingdom is within. The kingdom is a group of principles that have been established by our Creator. And if our Creator established principles, then those principles are as old as our Creator, which means that they have always been. And you cannot end those things which are spiritual. Making any attempt to end something that would be called a kingdom age or a kingdom in reference to the spiritual would be equal to making an attempt to end love and kindness or to end righteousness. Those things which are spiritual cannot be ended. They can only be disobeyed. Example, when we talk about unrighteousness, it is not an end to righteousness. It's disobeying what is righteous. Righteousness is always present. When we talk about hate, hate is not the destruction of love. It's disobeying the principle of love. And it goes on and on in that manner. So what I'm saying in essence is this. Hate is not the opposite of love. Hate is disobeying the principle of love. So there is no such thing as the kingdom age, because all ages come to an end. However, the reality is there are kingdom principles that have always existed and always shall exist.
Oh, okay.
Any questions or comments in reference to those questions? And answers, of course. Okay, your next question?
You was talking yesterday about, you said we are the balance for humanity. Explain more about the balance.
When I speak of us being the balance of humanity, I see it through the lens of our Creator. If we are everything and everything is us, and I think Kathy probably stated it yesterday when she said, I am no thing, but I am everything. I'm no one thing, but I am everything. Meaning that we are the principles of the kingdom. We are as our Creator is, was, and always shall be. So if the Creator is the source of balance for humanity, and we are as the Creator is, was, and never shall be, then we are the balance for humanity. The very thing that we as humans were searching for when we were searching for ourselves spiritually, one of those things was balance for humanity. And searching for this balance for humanity, what we came to realize is that the very thing that we are searching for is the thing that we are, and that is the balance. So if we are indeed that balance, how is it that we put that balance into action so it can be effective? In order for us to bring balance to a place of effectiveness, we ourselves have to be balanced, meaning that we are forever making every effort to be loving kindness at every turn in our lives. We are making every effort to be the source of peace in every circumstance, in every situation. We are making every effort to be the voice of reconciliation in every effort of our lives, even in the midst of those places where religion is geared toward manipulation. We are in the midst of that, bringing reconciliation with our Creator by virtue of speaking the truth, not just to power, but speaking the truth to lies, speaking the truth in the midst of the corruption. We are doing as our principal teacher did and is doing, and that's Jesus. We are here to rightly interpret the law. We are not here to just to fulfill. We are the fulfillment of it. We are here to rightly interpret what it means. What does it mean to be loving kindness? It means that without regard to what you encounter in your life, by virtue of what's said to you or done to you, you never cease loving the one or ones who are the perpetrators of what that adversarial experience has been or is. Because it is our belief that love does indeed cover a multitude of entanglements. So those who are presenting themselves as adversaries are entangled in selfishness to the extent that they are not able to see that the one that they are being an adversary to is themselves, because all of us are the same. However, if we were to seek to be adversaries to those who present themselves to us as being adversaries, then we have created a larger problem, and we have also become a source of disobedience to the principle of peace and reconciliation. So when we are in the midst of what we discussed earlier as church settings, our objective is not to help them to grow in the direction that they are traveling. Our objective is to help them see who they are. We don't even have to show them the error of their ways or their journey. Our objective is to show them what the scriptures are really saying. And when that is being done, if they're open to it, reconciliation does indeed take place, reconciliation with oneself, meaning one's Creator as well. Also, it opens the eye to see how difficult it has been to maintain religious principles versus the principles of the kingdom. It's easy to live the kingdom principles, however, it is extremely difficult to live the principles of religion because they change constantly. They change with cultural norms, they change with personal attitudes, they change with political policy, they just simply change on a whim, wherein the principles of the kingdom never changes. Does that help you?
Yes, thank you.
You're welcome. Anyone else? Any questions or comments? Okay. What yesterday I spoke about a lot of things, and we discussed quite a bit. And in doing so, I am quite sure that there were things that were missed in terms of what was said, or things that were omitted in offering answers to questions that were raised. So I want to give us this to see if there are any questions that has risen from what was discussed on yesterday, Saturday, or for that matter, any other time that we have spoken together. Let me ask you this, and In asking this question, I at this moment would like to ask those the facilitators to hold their response for a moment. And
Hey, Rev,
yeah, Charles.
you cutting in and out, and it's hard to hear what you're saying.
Okay, am I cutting in and out now?
Right now, you sound good.
Okay. What I'm saying, what I want to do then, I want to ask if the facilitators will hold their response. I want to ask a question. Yesterday, I spoke about the Messiah. I spoke about the idea of being messianic. And I want to know if that was clear with you. If not, if you have a question about that, raise it. If it simply wasn't clear, just say that it wasn't. What I spoke about was Messiah is not a label, neither is it a title. It is a principle of ability, and it is the ability to accomplish spiritual feats for the purpose of benefiting humanity. Is that understood? Or are there questions about that? Okay.
Hey, Rev, is that
Yeah.
when you say messianic, is that when he be able to have the power to do things beyond
Human?
sound like beyond your imagination?
Okay. It is. This is the thing about being Messiah, or being messianic. Every single time an individual say that they are a Christian, they are simply saying that they are a Messiah. And it is confusing to me why people will get upset when you say to them, if you are saying that you are a Christian, then you are saying that you are a Messiah. Therefore, you should be able to do everything that Jesus did and more. I don't understand why they get upset with that when that's exactly what they were saying. Now, if you do not believe that you're messianic, if you do not believe that you are capable of being messianic, then you are lying to yourself every time you tell someone that you are a Christian. Is that clear? Any questions about that? Are there any questions about that?
This is Vermel. I think I need what it means to be messianic explained to me better. I need a better understanding.
Being messianic is an ability. It is the power to accomplish something. If you write code, then that means that you have the ability to do what? To write a language that computers understand, right?
Okay.
So, if you tell me that you write code and I find out or ask you what code do you write and you don't know anything about it, then how can you tell me you write code? That you are an IT person, and in your job and responsibility as being one in IT, you write code. How can you tell me that and you don't know anything about it?
Okay, got it.
I need to one. How can you tell me? I think I used yesterday. You're a surgeon, and you don't have any principles of being a surgeon.
Right.
So if you tell me that you are messianic, the question becomes, what does that mean? That means that you have the spiritual abilities to accomplish spiritual feats. And these spiritual feats manifest in the physical. In other words, they manifest in such a way that people can see them. They are observable. Jesus' ability as Messiah was manifested in the opening of blinded eyes, both physically as well as spiritually.
Okay.
If I go to any congregation, they are going to tell me the same thing. The way you become a Christian is by joining the church and being baptized. If it was just that simple to become messianic or to become a Messiah, then everyone would be doing what Jesus did. So when I say that if you do not believe that you're messianic, please do not lie to yourself and other people by telling them that you are a Christian, because you are not. The word Christian comes from the word Christos, which is Greek. And the Greek word Christos was translated from Meshach, the Aramaic word for Messiah, or the Hebrew word for Messiah. So those words are the same. And if that simple logic does not ring true, then tell me what does. And if it does ring true, then I'm on the right path in terms of saying you're lying if you say that you're a Christian but you're not Messianic. If it does not ring true, then please explain to me what the truth is when it comes to Christian and Messiah. And that is open to anyone to explain. So that was one of the things that I spoke about yesterday, and we discussed at length. At least I thought we did anyway. I wanted to make sure that we grasp. And one of the other things is that about teachers and the difference between the two.
Repeat I think you said Audrey or something. You were breaking up just now for a second.
Oh my God, what's going on with these phones? I said that, and please let me know if I break up so I can. Audrey raised a question about the difference between the teachings and the mission. And I think that I with her clarified it, but I wanted to make sure that everyone understood the difference in the two. And what struck me about that is that we hear much discussion about the mission of the church. And
Blair.
Mute your phone, please.
Mute your phone, please.
Sorry.
I want to ask a question. Would someone please tell me what is the mission or the stated mission of the church? Anyone? Inclusive of the facilitator. Anyone, what is the stated mission of the church?
It's kind of nebulous.
I know, but I can't remember it right now.
Yeah, Reverend,
Huh?
You say you can't remember it.
I can't remember it right now, but I know we got one.
Okay.
Look, I've been gone over here. I remember what they.
In a year, you forgot the church.
No, I didn't forget the church. I just can't remember what their mission was. Mission statement.
It is. Did I hear you say it's nebulous?
Yeah, I mean, for me, it always was kind of nebulous. I mean, there was a stated mission, but is that actually what they lived up to? That's debatable.
But what was the mission?
I don't know, it's been too long.
To get everybody saved.
I was about to say, I thought it was something along the lines of to save souls, but from the church's standpoint, I can't really define what that actually means, what that entails.
It's to get everyone saved. The
So-
mission of the church is to get everyone saved by telling them about Jesus.
To go
Well,
to heaven.
but saved
Pastor, was that also-
meant joining the church. If you join the church, you're saved, right?
I'm not talking. I want to know that mission. I'm going to get to that in a minute, Miss Hodge. Did I hear someone else in the background?
Yeah, Pastor, was they also talking about what the Great Commission, was to preach the gospel? Or
Oh, you're talking about the go ye therefore Matthew thing.
Yes.
Go ye therefore in all the world. Matthew 28.
Yes, Pastor.
Yeah, okay. Now, Audrey, go ahead with what you were saying.
I said it seemed to me that saving souls just meant getting people to join the church. And
That's
that was
precisely.
kind of the extent to it.
There isn't one person who has been to a church, who's on this phone, or know anyone who's been to a church, who does not know that the concept of getting someone saved means getting them to be a member of the church. So the question becomes, if that is the mission, to get people saved by virtue of getting them to become a member of the church, then how does that coincide with the mission of Jesus?
Well, Reverend Richard, the reason why, I say for the Baptist and Association, the reason why they don't stress the getting people saved is because it's that, like you said, they're always asking them to come down and join the church. And then the next step is you need to get on one of the organizations and pick one that you want to join, and that's it. And there's no follow-up. It's no trying to talk to them about nothing but joining that organization, get on that choir and sing, come to this organization and sit your time, and that's it. It don't go no further than come down sitting in that chair. And you don't hear nothing about salvation no more. That's what I was just talking to one of the members today. Salvation is gone when it comes to the church. I mean, we know that's the mission statement, but they're not practicing it because all you hear now is about the dollar bill. So, people so confused that they don't know if they're going or coming, just simply because you don't hear nothing about nobody's soul no more anymore.
But they don't know anything about the soul, do they?
No.
Because my question, how do you reconcile this with Jesus' mission? Not one time did Jesus ever employ anyone to join the church, employ anybody to join the church. Not one time. Not one time did Jesus ask anyone, tell anyone rather, you got to be baptized to go to quote unquote heaven. Not one time did Jesus tell anyone they had to belong to an auxiliary or had to be render tithe and offering to belong to an auxiliary. Not one time. Not one time did Jesus set up a pulpit aid committee. Not one time did Jesus hold a church meeting to make decisions about the direction that people should go in. Not one time. Why am I saying all of this? Because if Jesus didn't do it, why are we doing it? And if Jesus did not do it, and it is being done, then it has absolutely nothing to do with the mission that Jesus was on. Not one thing does it have to do with the mission that Jesus was on. Now, how far do you want me to carry this?
Keep talking until you can understand what's going on.
If it did not have anything to do with Jesus' mission, then what is the purpose for their existence? And I am saying that they have outlived the purpose. The purpose for the existence, or the reason the existence was tolerated, I should say, is because it kept the words on the lips of humans. That word that someday would be understood, so that humanity could embark on the mission that Jesus had laid out. The words that have been taught are the words that were taught for the establishment and continuation of the church. However, when you understand what those words meant, you will find that the most sincere people between those walls were the ones who truly believed that they were being taught righteously, and they truly trusted God. And I am certainly not talking about those in the pulpit or the Sunday school teachers for that matter. I give no slack to anyone who preaches / teaches, none whatsoever. Because anyone who teaches or preaches or of the recipient, the obligation is to make sure that what you are teaching or what you are preaching to them for, that it is in line with what Jesus taught and not in line with the doctrine that your church has given you. If you preach in line, if you tell people on the hell that they don't get baptized, you are lying. Truth is not in you. That they're going to hell if they don't render tithes, that's a lie, and the truth is not in it. If you tell people that they're going to hell because they don't come to church, you're lying, the truth is not with you. There is no truth in that. That is not the mission. The mission is never to frighten people into doing anything. The mission is to teach people who they are. And in knowing who they are, they recognize their obligations and they voluntarily take care of those obligations without them being manipulated. If you have to have auxiliaries, if you have to have extracurricular in order to keep people used, then you are doing social work or not doing spiritual labor. Any questions about that?
When I tell you I was talking to the lady, and we was when I talked to you today about the stimulants, right, and what was said, and I could not convince her. Sometimes you just have to just let them knock their own head upside a brick wall, I guess. That's about the best way I can say it. Because all in her mind, well, you're supposed to get at 10%. And I say, but the pastor is not supposed to frighten you to make you do anything against your will that you don't want to do. I said, what about the senior citizens that can't even come out their house, that want to come to church, that can't buy medication, and all they got is what coming in, whichever way it comes in. So is God gonna damn them? He gonna damn us and not them? He gonna damn certain ones. But it's like you hitting a brick wall when you try to talk to people because they are so programmed, and it is so hard when you try to tell them the right thing, and they don't hear it because that's all they've heard all their life ever since they grew up and was able to hear and understand what's being said from the pulpit, and it is no changing in them. I mean, it is no changing. So what do you do?
This is what you do, and this is difficult. No one wants to really do this. You call the pastor out to his face. Why do you think I got in trouble? Because I raised questions. Why is it that you think it's okay for someone to render a tithe and an offering and not pay their rent, and next month they're looking for someplace to live, yet you are okay? Why is it that you think it's okay to manipulate people into paying $50 for a revival or whatever they pay, or $25 for a choir anniversary, or X number of dollars for whatever you got going on? Why is that okay? And you're lying to them, telling them it's an offering. Every single time that someone who knows better does not say it, does not and participates in it, they are perpetuating the lie. Example, I got in trouble because I refused to have revival. I refused to have revivals because revivals were money makers, and that's all. People don't die at the same time every year spiritually. If they die spiritually at the same time every year, they're dead and have never been revived. So what's the point? It's manipulation. The only way that people are going to see differently is for those who perpetuate it to be forced to explain themselves in the midst of those people that they are manipulating. And it's not easy because you casted them to my youth. People do not want to be excommunicated from the group that they're in, not realizing that Jesus was. I'm going to be just like Jesus. No, you don't. No, you don't. If you want to do the things that Jesus did, expect people to reject you. You are going to be rejected, not because you're cussing them out or being nasty to them, but because you're raising the legitimate question. If you believe that the source of all knowledge is our Creator, if you believe that this pandemic is real, then why is it you want to risk people's lives by bringing them together? Those kinds of questions are legitimate, but we don't want to raise those questions. Right now, there are ministers who are upset with me because they asked the question. I gave them the answer. I don't understand why we are so afraid of those who are supposed to be serving us. We call that fear. You respect them, number one, because
we call that what?
Spiritual.
We call that what now?
It's respect, but it's fear. We are afraid to speak the truth to those who lead us. We're act.
Rev.
Yes, sir.
Rev. You going out in and out.
You're going in and out.
Yeah.
Pause it, Sheldon.
What I was attempting to say is we are afraid to speak the truth or raise the legitimate questions, and we say we don't do it out of respect. It is out of fear of being ostracized. The way we get people to understand the truth of what the mission is, the way we get them to understand that is by raising the questions, and raise them in Bible class, raise them in group settings, raise them in organizational meetings. Raise the questions. Why are we here? If we are a missionary group, what missions are we performing? Those kinds of questions. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
And I have a
Yes.
question along those lines. You were saying that the churches are doing a lot of things that Jesus never talked about. But one thing Jesus did talk about is, rendering unto Caesar what is Caesar's, or in effect, paying your taxes. But we do the opposite with churches. Because they don't have to pay taxes, and I don't know all that because I never ran a church, but anyway, because they don't generally pay taxes, then yes, they're trying to pull in as much money as possible because they know they don't have to pay taxes on it. They can categorize it in a certain respect where they don't have to pay taxes. But do you think if they did have to pay taxes, that it would be kind of different in terms of them going
No,
after people's money?
It wouldn't be any different. And the reason it wouldn't be any different is because whether taxes are paid or not, it does not affect the leadership. The leadership pays taxes, or at least supposed to, unless they've been exempt for something or another.
Wouldn't that provide a bit of oversight?
It would not. Only thing that would happen is that taxes would be paid on the money that's brought in, and the money that's brought in is for salaries, and the salaries that are paid from the money that's brought in is taxable income. So that would not change. The only oversight that a church has really is itself. Now, when it comes to whether or not paying taxes is going to make a difference, again, it won't make a difference whatsoever. Now, there are mechanisms that are used. For example, there are pastors who don't take a salary for the first 6 months of the year or for the first 4 or 5 months of the year, and then they take all of it in the latter part of the year, and they count the first 4 or 5 months where they did not take a salary as in-kind service, and it's tax deductible. So there are all kinds of mechanisms that's built into that. And when he says, render unto Caesar which is Caesar, and of course give to God which is God, which is the tithes and offering. But again, tithes and offering, one of the things that happened at the temple is that there was a temple police who forced people to render tithes and offering, and that was wrong. It was against the principles. Rendering means that you're doing this voluntarily. And manipulation, you're not giving it voluntarily. If you are, let's say that you are in a position of trustee, deacon, whatever, and you're told that you cannot hold that position if you don't render a tithe, then am I selling that position or leasing it to you? The greater focus is supposed to be on what's being taught. And if the greater focus is on what's being taught, then everything else takes care of itself. Seek ye first the kingdom, and all these other things will be added unto you if we seek the kingdom and his righteousness, everything else will be added, meaning that should not be an issue at all with that. So all I'm saying is this. If we follow that principle, then we can stay more focused on the mission. And the mission is not to pack the pews. The mission is to reveal to humanity who it is. That's the mission. Now, do I think that tithes and offerings should be rendered? Absolutely, I do. Because it's mandated by the scriptures, hands down. 25th chapter of Matthew speaks. Jesus speaks to that. You've done what you've been mandated to do. You've done the tithes, you've done all these other things, but one thing you didn't do, you didn't take care of the poor. All these other things you did. So these things are there, but they have become the primary focus, as opposed to the focus being humanity. And early on, I heard Catherine Neal talk about the idea of salvation not being present anymore. Well, salvation, I would venture to say this, that salvation has never been present, because what we have called salvation is not salvation. Salvation is not deliverance from going to a nightclub or smoking some weed. That ain't salvation. Salvation is being delivered from the ignorance as to who you were created to be. I was told by someone as I was teaching that if you tell people that salvation delivers them to the point where they have the freedom to do what they choose to do, then you've given them a right to sin. And I almost cursed him, but I didn't. I was kind about it. I asked him to explain it to me. And he gave me an example of my saying that, yeah, I drink wine. And, well, what about the alcoholic? You go get, if he starts drinking wine again, then you have told him it's okay. I didn't tell him that. These are the convoluted conversations that they have. This is the level of ignorance that's applicable to being pastoral. To me, it doesn't make any sense whatsoever. I have always said this, and I still believe it. You cannot be ignorant. You cannot be intellectually challenged and be a good criminal. In order for you to be an effective pastor, you can be intellectually challenged. You can have no idea about anything that you're saying. All you have to do is say Jesus' name every once in a while and tell them they're going to heaven, and you can be a pastor.
Can you say a little bit more on that, being delivered from ignorance that they were created to be? Could you elaborate on that a little more?
Yes. Being delivered from the ignorance of being human only. Understanding that every one of us are the same. We are loving kindness. We are peace. We are balance. We are Elohim. We are everything that our Creator is. And our purpose is to help all of humanity get to a place of understanding and embracing that. That's the mission. That's the mission. You don't have to have any understanding of the scriptures in order to pastor a church. All you have to do is be able to quote them. If you can quote the scriptures and follow the current political policy, you can pastor a church without a problem. And that's a very low bar, I know. Any questions about that? Let me say something about this. Quoting scriptures is not teaching. I've been in settings, and so have you, where there are books purchased, and people are teaching from those books, and those books are saying the same thing today that they said last year, which is not in any way whatsoever speaking to what the scriptures are saying. Just because you stand in front of a group of people doesn't mean you're teaching them. You're talking to them, but you're not teaching them. Teaching involves opening people's eyes to something that they have not seen before, or making clearer that which they have already seen. These are the principles of teaching. The problem with that is we have been entertained for so long in the name of teaching and salvation until we think that when we get someone to respond to our antics of entertainment, then we have brought them to a place of deliverance. When that is nowhere near the truth. If there has been anything that has been exposed during this period of a year, it has been the inability of pastors to teach. It also has exposed the fear that if people stay away too long, they won't come back. So all types of things have been put in place, measures have been put in place to get people to come to that particular place or to gather in some particular place. It is imperative that we accomplish the mission. All of these things have taken place. Today, a senator stood up and said that he was not afraid of the people who went into the Capitol on January 6th, and I'm paraphrasing, because they are real Americans, they're patriots. But he would have been afraid if it had been Black Lives Matter. All he said in his statement was, I'm not afraid of them because they are here to keep America white just like I am. And to keep those other people in their place. All of these things have been exposed for us. Not for us to be angry about. Not for us to be frustrated. All of these things have been exposed because someone cried out for deliverance from the ignorance of who we are as humans. Someone cried out saying, it's not enough for a handful of us to understand who we are. We must expose everything so all of us can see that we are one, that we are the same. If there is ever to be balance in this earth, if we are to be what we were created to be, then every man on this earth, every woman and child on this earth must have the same opportunity. And the way they get that opportunity is by exposing what's corrupt, by exposing what's unrighteous, so that they can make a decision about the direction in which they would like to travel. And having guideposts set up in a spiritual way. So in their travels, they will know when they are traveling in the right direction. All of these things have been done because someone cried out for them, desired them from the depth of their soul. This mission will be accomplished. It will not be aborted. It will be accomplished without regard to what has to end for it to grow. It's not going to die. It's never been dead. It's simply been misunderstood, or it's simply been unknown. Now that this mission is being exposed, it is incumbent upon those who had the desire for this exposure to stay the course and cease to be a part of the problem, meaning that cease to walk in the religious shoes of manipulation. Cease playing a game that you know is simply that, a game, and not a journey to life. It doesn't matter that I grew up in St. Paul Church in Union. It doesn't matter that I grew up there. What matters is what happens now. I'm thankful for having been there, yes. But when you learn better, you do better. And when better is not accepted, then you move away from that which does not want to be better. If you don't want to do better, then I move away from that. Why? Because the only way that I can stay in a group of people who don't want to be better is for me to capitulate to them. And capitulation I will not do. When I see better, when I learn better, I'll do better. When I was there in the association, I saw better. And there were those who saw better also, but chose to remain as they were because they said they could not tell anybody that they had been wrong. Anyone who cannot admit that they have been wrong is not fit to lead anyone. Because the moment that they come to the realization that they have been wrong and they refuse to admit that they have been wrong and right that wrong, from that point forward, they are living a lie, and they know they are living that lie, and they mean no one any good, and can't any good come from it. If you make an error and you're not aware of it, that's one thing. But if you err and you know you erred and you will not correct it, that's a problem. And you don't have the right to teach anyone, because they will not be able to trust your judgment, your leadership, or anything that comes out of your mouth, because they don't know whether you're telling them something because you believe it or because you simply want them to believe it so they will keep following you. When you are leading people, there are things that you are going to have to say that they are not going to like. But simply because they don't like it, it doesn't mean you don't say it. You tell the truth. It was difficult to say that Mary was Jesus' wife. It's difficult to say that Jesus did not die for our sins. Difficult, but not impossible. Difficult, but very necessary to say. It's difficult. It was difficult to talk about the concept of church, this age dying. Difficult. Because It has been the shoulders of the church that has kept us as a people afloat. But now it's time for us to keep mankind afloat. And we can't keep mankind afloat if we continue to live in this earth as though we are mere men. The only one whose shoulders are broad enough and strong enough to keep humanity afloat are the shoulders of Elohim. There are no teachings of any doctrine that has its origin in the mind of men to bring order to the chaos that we are experiencing. The only principle that can bring order to the chaos that we are experiencing are the principles that were laid before the foundation of this world was. The principles that are one with and no different than the one who created us all and everything that is. We look at the words that were written on the tablets, and when we look at those words, we cannot literally manipulate those words for the purpose of human understanding. We must literally understand those words for the purpose of spiritual discernment. The words on those pages, on those tablets, are there for a purpose. And the purpose is for us to have a guide for the accomplishing of the mission of opening the eye of mankind. Every war has its casualties. But every casualty has an opportunity to see something that we've not seen. Every casualty sees what it is once it exits the body. That's something we have not seen, and if we have, we don't remember seeing it. And I'm speaking of reincarnation. I don't know about you, but my commitment to this journey is total and unwavering, because it is not my desire that anyone would have to pick up the slack that I left, or to carry a burden that I refuse to shoulder, or speak a word that I was afraid to speak. Let me share this with you. When I first came into ministry, I was armed everywhere I went, just like I was before I came in. And I was armed for the same reason that I was armed before I came in, because I knew the dangers of traveling the streets at night, being an African in this American country. And I remember an incident took place, and I made a commitment. And my commitment was this. I said at that time, anything that I get in that God cannot get me out of, then let me die. If I needed to be armed to protect myself, then just let me die. I am saying to you that the circumstances that we live in now, we should understand that this journey is wrought with danger. Danger to the body, danger to livelihood. But there is no danger that our Creator cannot handle. The fear that exists to speak the truth must cease. I remember saying things in the midst of men who wanted to hang me, literally. And I wasn't afraid to say it then. So why would I be afraid to say it now when I have a protector who is more effective and powerful than any weapon that I could ever carry? I encourage you to stay on the journey, to complete this mission. The questions that you raise in the midst of those who call themselves leaders and teachers, you should not be afraid to raise those questions. I'm not saying disrespect anyone. I'm saying don't be afraid of anyone. You say that you have not been given a spirit of fear, act like it. Raise the questions. Free other men in your midst. The people sitting in your midst need you to raise the questions, to deliver them from the blindness that has been imposed upon them generation after generation. Those who have gone on before us, who sat in those pews, who trusted God more than the one who told them to trust God, they see everything clearly now. And we owe it to them to speak the truth regardless of what the consequences are. The only reason we are able to see as clear as we are is because of those who were dedicated, who went before us, and they see what we are searching for. They understand what we are struggling to understand. And they are sending us messages continuously. Are we listening? And if we are listening, are we hearing them? And if we are hearing them, are we acting on what we are hearing? They will not force us to do anything, but they will expect us to do everything. That's our obligation, to complete this mission of opening the eye of humanity. Look at what happened. Pandemic was raging, and we made a simple statement. It is our desire for this thing to end. And in less than a week and a half, all the reports came out. It had dropped by 50%. You can call it coincidental. You can call it anything you want. But those who know who they are know what they call it. Effective leadership on behalf of humanity. Any questions? Any comments? Let me leave you with this. battle is not over. The pandemic is not over in the classical sense of being over. Why? There are some loose ends to be tied up. And there are some other things to be exposed, and then you will see. It's like you see the broad picture of an issue. The broader picture of white supremacy is Donald and his people and the people on January 6th. That's the broad picture. Now it's beginning to come into focus. You're beginning to see the individual perpetuators of the attitude of this type of thought. And these are the ones who are the targets of our darts of loving kindness. The Senator Johnsons and the Senator McConnells are the ones whose hearts we target them with loving kindness. They just don't know who they are. They are no different than any other man. They don't understand that they are Elohim. So the energy of ancestry that left them, we influence it to influence them, that their hearts may be pricked and softened, and the direction will be altered, and their arms will be open as their hearts are, and they will embrace the principles of righteousness. Just as our ancestors have seen the clear picture of everything, so has theirs. I see ancestors as being energy flows, and it is my desire that there be a commingling of the ancestral energy flows so that one can become many and many can become one. And the power of love and peace will prevail in this earth by virtue of being manifested through the changes in the hearts of the Mitch McConnells and the Donald Trumps. Yes, some of them will transition, but the greater goal, the greater miracle, is the changing of a heart that a man can stand and see. My eye has been opened, and I have seen the glory, the beauty, the balance of the Lord, of Yahweh, in the midst of all of this chaos. And I can no longer be a part of the chaos. That's the goal. That's the mission. Having said that, no questions, no comments. I'm done for the evening. Thank you. Appreciate your presence.
Good teaching. Good teaching.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Bye, everybody. Bye, everybody.
Thank you. Bye, everyone. Have a good week.
Good night, family. Have a good one.